Well, guys, we're going to talk about something I don't really want to talk about, but it's the end of October and it's going to be here soon. It's called snow. So where there's snow, you're going to find one of these. Snowblower. So we're going to talk about a bit of maintenance today. And disclaimer, I'm not a professional mechanic, but I've been repairing outboard motors and all kinds of, look at that, twins. Look at that. That's beautiful, man. Anyways, we're not talking about outboards, that's done. We'll talk about this. It's called an Ariens model 1028. Now, I'm kind of partial to this brand of snowblowers. They're really, really good stuff. They make good quality. Now, I'm talking this one here. I'm not talking about the new ones. I haven't seen a new one. Like everything else in life, everything is getting disposable and whatever it is. This one is a 1999 model. It's old. Got a mark on it. A little scratch here and there. It is what it is, okay? So we're going to talk about maintaining one of these. Now we're going to talk about the motor first of all. Oil change. Do your oil change according to what the manufacturer suggests. Use manufacturer oil, what they suggest. And, you know, when I change the oil, I'll run the motor a little bit. There's a drain plug. Right there, drain the oil, take it out, fill it up with the proper oil and what they tell you to do. So that's done. So once your oil change is done, you're done. Sticking to the motor, what I did here, you can notice it here, boy, the sun's really bad here, but I put a shut-off valve. Didn't come with a shut-off valve. I went to Princess Auto, put one on. So if you ever have to remove this tank, and you know you're stuck. Shut the valve off, take the tank off. You want to work on the carburetor. This one here, never touched it. Never had to touch anything in it. And go around to the other side. Of course, you put the oil right there. Don't check your fluids. Every time you start it, just check it. It takes 2 seconds to take this off and check it. Make sure you start it before you start it. Electric start. Make sure that that's working okay. Check your plug. I never changed. I've checked. I think I changed the plug once in 22 years. I had this thing. Go around to the motor. Make sure it's clean. There's no oil. Make sure there's nothing leaking. Carburetor's right here. Bottom of the carburetor there is a little. You push this little thing right here for your float to drain the fuel out of there. You have to if you have to drain the fuel out of your carburetor. There's your drain plug. This was pretty simple. It's got no cables going to use your throttle right here. I like this one's old. Primer bulb, primer. Right there, prime it a couple times, it'll fire up right away. So make sure your oil is good, make sure you got good fresh gas in it. Plug, make sure there's no cracks in your boot. You know, make sure there's no cracks in here. Another thing, we'll go on back over here. Check your cord. It's not frayed. That's all you need is this thing to snap on you. Make sure everything is not worn out. This one's pretty good shape. Nope. You know why it's in good shape? Because it always started right off the bat. Okay, so that takes care of the motor. Now we're going to go back here. Controls. Make sure all your controls are free. Lubricating according to the manufacturer. There's all your auger. That's for your auger. That's for your wheels. That's my switch with the electric handlebars. Got a light on it. The light always comes on when the motor starts running. Okay, make sure your cables are all. Actually, this one's just perfect height. That's for your auger. This is for your speeds, variable speed. This is your chute. Make sure all the cables are not frayed. You know, just take a fast look at it. You know, before you start using this thing. Make sure it's tight. Okay, in here, I'm not going to get into. There's an inspection cover. There's a disc. Goes this way. Another wheel goes this way, and this is what gives it your variable. So when I move this thing back and forth, it slides a lever back and forth onto a shaft. Make sure that shaft is nice and clean, lubricated according to what the manufacturer suggests you to do. There's 2 big gears in there. Make sure they're clean. Make sure there's no debris in there. Check the gears. Make sure they're lubricated according to the manufacturers. You know, so what they tell you to do. Okay. Tires. Check your tires. Make sure they're inflated properly. You know, people think they last forever. Well, you know something. Just check the tires. Take 2 minutes. Check the tire pressure. Okay, so that takes care of this here. Your chute. Here's your chute. Make sure This one goes up and down. When I pull this lever, it's got a spring on here, and it goes back and forth. Make sure it's lubricated properly. This will turn the chute. I take, see, it goes nice and back and forth. This one works pretty good. Make sure it's lubricated properly. Okay. Controls. Make sure your controls are working good. If they're working good, that's one start of the battle. Half the battle right there. Now, belts. I changed the belts about 2 years ago. There's two belts. One that actually dries the tires and one that dries the auger. The one that dries the tires, it lasts pretty well forever. There's not that much stress on it. The one that dries the auger, that's the one that does all the work. So that's the one you got to check. Take the cover off, check it. And make sure there's no idler wheel. There's basically an idler wheel that makes sure it goes back and forth, that makes sure it's always tight, make sure there's nothing worn out. Now what I like about these guys, everything's on bearings. There's no bushings on this machine. Now I'm not going to, well, you can't see. There's a grease fitting down here. There's grease fittings on this thing. The more grease fittings you have, the more likely it's not going to wear out. Make sure it's greased according to the manufacturer. Oh, wear plates. These little wear plates. So you got to adjust those, how much you want to cut off here. So make sure they're okay. Wear plates are pretty good. Go back this way. There's one over here on this side. Wear plates. Now this one's a bit. I gotta repaint it. I got the actual paint to paint it. There's a grease fitting right there. Make sure it's grease. Make sure there's no play. This one's got good. Make sure it's greased at each end here, there and there. Shaft. Make sure there's oil in here. Make sure manufacturer oil. They wanted special oil in here. It was like $30 for a little container. I just put High Point 90 in it, and I put it in there, no problems. But I'm not telling you to use High Point 90. That's what I did. So do what according to the manufacturer suggests. Shaft is nice and tight. Now in here, there's a pulley in there. When I split it in half, there was a bearing, a pilot bearing. I did remove it last year. I said, well, Mark, you got it split in half. You're changing the bearings. You're changing, doing your checking everything. The bearing was good, but I took it out anyways because that pulley was really tight on that shaft. I had to get a puller, pull it off. Pulled it off, cleaned everything up, lubricated, put a new bearing, reseated the bearing where it belonged. Bob's your uncle, we're done. So, there's only one bearing in there. Make sure it takes 2 minutes to do it properly. Now, we covered the motor, oil, all this stuff here, that's all been covered. Covered all this, make sure this is all covered. Make sure everything's tight. These things vibrate. Make sure everything's nice and tight. If there's any loose bolts, make sure they're tight. Make sure everything's tight on it, okay? Now, last but not least, this one is basically two-wheel or one-wheel drive. By removing the pin, I can make it one-wheel drive or two-wheel drive. Every year, guys, take these tires off the shaft, lift it up on its end, take it off the shaft, lubricate it, put this back on. You say, well, why are you going to do that? A friend of mine, 15 years ago, this seized. We had to head a flat. We had to literally cut this off to get it off. So pull it off the shaft, lubricate it, put it back on. Every year. Just get it done. Then you'll have no problems. So that's little things you can do. Make sure that, like I said, everything's done right. If there's anything that has to be lubricated. Now another little trick. Oh, head. Always wear earmuffs. I do. Just protect your ears. Because when I'm on the radio, I want to make sure I can hear the guy when he's not the other end. Talk and skip. And I'll even actually throw a little bit of PAM in here. Throw some PAM down here, it'll slide better. Anyways, that's my my scoop on how to repair a snowblower. As far as I'm concerned, that's the best one money can buy. I just partial these guys. I did go to, I think it was Home Depot or Lowe's, and they had I don't know if it was a Craftsman, but I couldn't believe it. The new ones are actually fuel injection. Really? I don't know. They want to eliminate the backyard mechanic. If that thing ever went, how would you fix this? This carburetor, I can go on Amazon, get a carburetor, or go right to the dealer, put a carburetor kit, and it's going to run forever. I'm just partial to the old stuff. It's got the flathead engine, it's got the side valve engine. It lasts forever, cast bore. Now the new ones are overhead valve. They run quieter. I don't know if they have more power or whatever. But this one is really, really good. Anyways, that's my little thing on my snowblower. Hopefully, it's green, but not for much longer. Anyways, have a nice day, guys. And if you have a snowblower, take a look at it before the snow comes. Catch you later. Bye-bye.